Something's going to be live. I'm not sure.
But I just mean, it's like, it doesn't sound like it's band camp.
No,
Like
no,
when I
yeah,
was a
it's.
kid,
I
we
feel like
went
it's prep
to a
camp. It's
college
prep to
and
band camp prep.
we were there for like 10 days in the
Hmm.
dorms.
Yep, yep.
And I can't imagine that he was able to get
No, no,
into the kind of debauchery that I was in.
absolutely, absolutely not. This is, um,
Ah,
this is freshman. Wait, is he a no? He's not a freshman. He's a sophomore, right? Ninth grade. Um,
ninth
he's
grade is
yeah.
freshman.
Is it? Well, I mean,
Yeah.
okay. So I'll say this: back when I
10th
went to
grade
high
is
school,
sophomore.
back in my days,
Uh,
ninth grade
I
was not
just like
part of
to,
high school.
I mean, like,
It
how much
wasn't.
you know about your son?
I How much do I know about my son? Enough. No, I mean, no. Look, he's hanging in there pretty well. And the fact is, school's starting to start for him like at 7:30 in the morning now, as opposed to where it used to be
Yeah.
at 8. But for the last 2 weeks with band camp that we've been doing, he's been having to be at school at 7 a.m. So a very early schedule, a very early start to things, and I feel like the jet lag kind of worked in our favor because we were able to wake up early. But
Yeah.
yeah, man. I mean, all I know is summer's done. Like
That's it.
it's gone.
All she wrote.
Yeah, it's it.
Yeah.
And it's basically starting Monday. We go back to, school, homework, after school stuff. His first two
It's
classes
tough.
every single day is band. Like the dude's gonna get 2-hour doses of band every day.
Well, I'm glad that it's like a proper part of the day
Oh,
because, like,
they have a
for us,
legit
it
program.
was.
This school has a legit, like literally in the district, they're
That's
the
good.
number one, and they've gone
Oh,
to
nice.
competitions. They're hoping they get to go to
See,
Florida
for
for a
us, we were
competition.
just kind of like the soundtrack at football games, so we
Yeah,
had
well,
0 hour. We had to go to school before school
yeah,
to be
that's
a
that's
part
that's
of the
what his
band.
thing. 7:30 is 0 hour. So he
But
still has six periods, but his starts at 7:30.
ugh, that's gross.
Yeah, I know. But
Super
his
gross.
answer to this entire thing was he's like, look at it on the bright side. I guess you're not gonna have to worry about traffic. And I'm like, you know what?
That's
That is a little bit of a
That's
silver
totally
lining there.
like from the gallows. It's like the end
Yeah,
of Life of Brian.
yeah.
Always look on the
Bright
bright
side. There's always a
side
silver
of
lining.
life.
Something out of
Do
this is
do
gonna be good.
do 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 do
Um,
do.
but yeah, so that's been my week, and so we've been hustling,
It's
bustling,
been a
and
week.
it's been a
I'm
week, man.
exhausted.
I'm
I am just trying like hell to
hmm
catch up on going on vacation and getting COVID,
Yep.
which set me back a month.
Yeah. Oh,
And
I'm with you.
I over this week I've shot 10 videos
Good.
that now I need to edit. And
Yeah.
you're like, this is insane.
Uh-huh.
And of course, like, if you take any time off, the YouTube algorithm is like, no, you don't need to have a channel anymore. So it's like you have to a Herculean amount of work
Yeah.
to try and get stuff flowing again.
To
It's a
revitalize
lot.
the algorithm and
Just to
like
claw
shut.
back to like some semblance of where you were before.
I'm with you. No, I'm with
You don't get sick days and
you.
you
Mm-mm.
don't get to take time off.
And that's
YouTube has decided you are only worth being
it's not
squeezed
sustainable though.
constantly.
This is really not a sustainable process. I think in
No.
general we need to plan some downtime, even if it's a
I need to
weekend.
have a giant pause button on my channel
Yes,
and tell YouTube I'm going to take some time off, do whatever you
and
need to do for
let me
algorithm
restart
stuff,
where
but
I
I'm
left off.
going to come back,
Yeah, in
try to position me where I was before, because this constant grind, you hear about like video game
mhm,
developers like, "Oh, we're in crunch." Well, yeah, that's YouTube.
yeah.
It's just constant crunch.
I'm
Hey, everybody, welcome to a happy
welcome
tech
back.
podcast with two old guys.
Happy, very happy,
Ha
very happy.
Woo!
No, I know it's been an interesting week. A lot, not a lot of tech news going out. I mean, obviously there's the
Actually,
Vivo
because
series coming
we've
out.
got we've got some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
very stoked to have a couple phones here.
I want
I
to
really
understand why
want to
you're
hear your
championing the
thoughts.
V40. Yeah, because I titled our video specifically V40 Pro versus V40 because
Oh, we're
I'm
gonna talk
actually,
about that.
yeah, I'm leaning
Oh
toward the
yeah, yeah.
Pro, and because I was
Heck
watching
yes.
your video and you're like,
Oh
I
yeah.
really think the V40 is more of
Th-
the banger here. But okay,
This
we'll
this one
talk.
kind of surprised me because normally I'm the horsepower no replacement for displacement in
Exactly.
your
I
SoC
was shocked
guy.
to see that comment, but
But
okay.
this one kind of got me. I would also just like to take a minute and check
Yes, sir.
in because we both have two things that I feel have already kind of fallen off
Okay.
a part of the techie conversation.
Yes. They generally
So I would like to check in and just what have your experiences been like with your Asus, with your Windows laptop? Because
So
I've been putting together some thoughts on like some of the other features
yeah.
that I haven't been covering as much. And so I just published on the Patreon, I did an audio review
Yes, I saw
of the Surface
your audio.
Laptop 7.
Yeah, yeah. No.
I was a little disappointed, and this is actually something that I think Asus would tackle better than Microsoft on Microsoft's own turf.
I
But
would
in
I would
general, I'm
imagine
not saying
yeah.
like you need to sit there and measure frequency response graphs like
I
I do for my headphone jacks, but
no, no,
just
no.
like you've been using it for a while,
Yeah.
and the conversation is already kind of leveled off.
For the
What
most part,
have your
yeah, actually just a little bit of an update on this. If for anybody that was interested, and I do have a pre-order on one, but the developer kits are starting to become available from Qualcomm.
now,
So
if
there's
we
also
remember all of the gamer tech bros, just the fact that they didn't get dev kits out meant that this was a complete and total fail, and no one should buy any ARM powered laptops.
I just wanted to make sure
So
all of them are on the same page and they're cool and they got the
they all
update.
talked
It's
before they
available.
put
You're
out
able to pick it
videos.
up, $8.99, and it's unfortunately not top spec, but it's basically
Actually,
the Asus. It's the Asus in a Nook format.
actually, no. It there is a special variant in the dev
Oh,
kit. So we have
not the one
the
I. Okay.
78, we have
Hmm.
the 78, the 80, and the 84.
Yeah.
The dev kit has a 00, and I believe it comes with like a 120-watt power supply.
So I haven't
So it
received mine. It's
actually
supposed to ship
is.
sometime mid August because I
I'm
pre-ordered
I'm
it at the end of July while I was on my vacation.
I'm
As
pretty
soon
sure
as
it's
I
a
saw
clock
that,
speed nudge
okay.
over the Samsung, over the 84 variant of the X Elite. So you
Well,
might be in line
hmm
for the most powerful version of X Elite coming your way.
I hope so.
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
oh, nudge, nudge. I no, no. So okay, so for me, I'll say this: it's been partially growing pain, growing into what I do on DaVinci. 18.6.1 has had some problems for me on the Mac and on my PC, and I'm running 19 beta. They released 19 beta 4, if I'm not mistaken. I think mid July.
Oh
That
no
was
no.
the last 4 or
Beta
5.
6 just came out this week.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I
So
haven't
you've
updated to
got to
that.
update. You need to update
I'm still running
for
on
real.
5
Actually,
from mid July. If because I didn't even
here.
I didn't
While we're talking about it, I'm gonna see
you'll
if I
fire
can
it up right now.
you just keep discuss with the rest of
As of a couple
the
of days
community.
ago, beta 6 was not there, but maybe maybe it is now. But yeah, so overall the experience for me has been learning to find out what does and what does not work. I found out that basically anytime I'm using any kind of audio filters, any audio plugins, any kind of time when I'm processing audio out on the video, that's pretty much just going to shoot this entire project down. I don't think DaVinci 19 is ready for that. It hasn't been optimized. So for those, if I
It needs some
remotely
polish
do,
still.
yeah. So for those, so basically what I've been saying is I've split my work between the projects that I know will work perfectly fine on it and will run at the level that I need it. Because the issue for me when I'm traveling, when I'm covering things, I need to make sure that it runs. I need to make sure
Yeah.
that it runs efficiently, that it doesn't become like, you know what I mean? Like it needs to be part of the chain and it needs to make sure that the chain runs smoothly for me. So for those projects, because like when I'm reviewing something on the car and I'm outside, right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
noise. I need to use the audio focusing functionality, and that pretty much usually tanks DaVinci for me on the Asus. So that's it's not Asus's problem. I think
So
it's
I
optimizations.
I
So yeah.
realized why that was such a big discrepancy between your use on a Mac
Hmm.
and my use is that I don't use that audio focus on my old workstation because it tanks performance on my aged Threadripper.
Yeah.
So when I do that audio focus, especially speech highlighting, my system, I mean, I've got so many cores and 64 gigs of RAM and an RTX 4070, and the system just goes
Yeah. The system's
like
just
you
like
like you unplugged airplane style, a
it,
giant thing from
it's
the
a
wall.
weird
It's
thing, but like
awful.
on a Mac, it does not hinder the performance at all. I'm going to take that one step back. You notice that scrubbing gets a little bit sketchy, but the render
Yeah.
performance, it still runs
But
the same.
and I've spoken to other Mac users about like the optimization for the plugins
Yeah.
seems to be so much better
But
than some of
we
these
have to
things that
keep
we've
in
had in
mind
Windows land.
they have years of they have years of compatibility, at least a couple of years of
Yeah.
compatibility and performance enhancement. And I think the level where so they're anticipating DaVinci 19 to be released fully, if I'm not mistaken, sometime in the next month or so, right? Like September, October, if I remember the original
Yeah, it's
target
coming
date.
up.
So my hope is that by the time this is fully available, that we are going to get better optimizations by the time the final version comes out. Because these are baked. By the way, we're talking about baked in plugins. We're not even talking about any kind of third party plugins. This is
No,
baked into
yeah.
to DaVinci, and 19 brings in even more functionalities that I'm really excited about, especially with speech. That the transcription, the functionality of using AI to just using some of the AI features that they're building. So I like it. I haven't gotten to the point where I'm able to rely heavily on it. I know what's it called, Premiere or Adobe Suite starting to be supported via emulation, but it's basically super slow. Like it's not even
Yeah.
remotely like from what I've seen. It's like double the time if you want to render.
Again,
Again,
I want to highlight, like,
yeah,
for someone who is stuck using Adobe products, I feel bad for you, son. I've got 99 softwares and
I
Adobe ain't one. If you're stuck with a company that is charging you monthly and not supporting you on the hardware that you would want to use, if you have the opportunity to maybe stop doing business with that company and look at
well,
alternatives, and I know that's easy to
DaVinci by
say.
far I feel like is seriously.
Well,
There's
the
no
other one too
reason.
was
Yeah.
Affinity. Affinity was what really got me, because, like, I was a Lightroom guy. I loved
Mhm.
Lightroom, and then Affinity Photo just kind of rocked my socks. And then they were ahead of the curve on ARM support. I could even use Affinity on my little Robo Encala right
Yeah.
before
I
these
made sure
Windows
to update
laptop
my
shift.
my Robo Encala over the week too. I was like,
So
I had to check
good.
it. Yeah, no, it just
Oh, it's gotten so good.
yeah.
Resolve has definitely been a sticky point for me, but in the way that I've been editing, this is so this is not how we should be doing it. But I've been throwing my audio tracks
Mhm.
into Audacity.
Oh yeah.
Audacity's free noise reduction is really good.
It
And then
absolutely
I
is.
don't need to use the audio highlighting feature in Resolve, and I don't run into the issue that you've got
Oh no,
with performance slowing to a crawl. It's that we shouldn't have to do that,
it,
but
it's a good
that
work.
has
It's a
been a
work.
workfly that has gotten me through faster in
And you
getting my
probably
videos done.
even though you're using Audacity and jumping into it and getting out of it, you're still probably doing it much faster than DaVinci would have done it if you just had to render it like just simply.
For sure.
Because we're talking about like an 11-minute, maybe 12-minute project taking almost 2 hours to render.
Oh
It
yeah.
is horrible,
It's
like
bad.
horrible. Like
It's real bad.
yeah. So what I was saying essentially is if I know exactly that I'm able to use it without the audio filter and all any kind of type of plugins, it typically runs really really well. It's basically about what I usually get out of my Mac. So I'll say that the overall performance on my end right now is it's a 50-50 mix. I'm still, if I
Yeah.
know where I'm going to be and it's going to be some audio issues, whatever, I typically will take the Mac. Otherwise, I'm basically I'm trying to shift as much as I can over to the X Elite. I want to basically just
Yeah.
fully transition out of the Mac ecosystem into a Windows, so that just because of the other thing is when I transition projects from DaVinci on the PC to the Mac, there
Mhm.
never is that smooth transition. There's
There's
always
there's
that whole
there's that
library.
little hiccup.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but I love doing that. I love being able to start a project on my laptop, come back home, plug it into my desktop, and I finish it off there, or vice versa. I start on something and I need to get on a trip or leave and go on it to the airport. I want to be able to transition it over and not have to figure out if I got everything correctly. So
Yeah.
it's a process that is getting better, and I think once we have DaVinci 19 fully out, we'll have better. The
I think
experience
it'll
will
get
be.
better.
Oh no,
I
no, it will,
still think,
no doubt, no
given
doubt.
given my experiences on my massive Windows workstation, I think we're always going to be the second class citizen.
Mhm.
In ARM land, Macs will get that polish where ARM PCs are still going to be playing catch up. But I just feel like so many other programs have been surprising wins where the
Oh no,
ARM
absolutely,
native
yeah.
code has just surprised me in like Handbrake.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Handbrake has been awesome.
Mhm.
DaVinci Resolve one of the funny things I've been doing with it is I've been going through some of my old DVD rips where I was just cranking out these MP4s.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really wasn't making the best possible like container, or wasn't using MKVs.
Mhm.
So I'll go through and I'll use DaVinci Resolve to cut new subtitles, grab that subtitle track, put that in Handbrake, and then re-encode everything as an MKV. And you're like, this is so good, and it's doing goofy, nerdy things so much better
Yeah.
than I was expecting it to. I don't think anyone's going to be running Plex server shenanigans like I am, but if you've got an old movie and you can't find subtitles for it, although I would recommend checking out opensubs.org,
Mhm.
DaVinci Resolve. I had an old
transcribing,
DVD
features.
copy of Monsters. It's a Scoot McNairy film.
Okay.
Really, really indie, low budget, great film. I love it. Just a quiet, slow burn, lots of suspense. And I put it in there, and DaVinci Resolve is even putting in cues like ominous music. You're like, that's amazing.
Dude,
That is so cool.
Ominous
And when we
music.
talk about things like how I am not a fan of AI, that's the machine learning I can absolutely get behind.
Oh,
Is
no,
when you make
absolutely.
subtitles, you tell me the mood of the music.
Tell me the mood.
It's playing.
Just so, yeah. I mean, it's ominous music. That is
Love it. I loved it. It
Yeah.
was so good. It's getting like some of the notes on sound effects. It's getting human speech. It's like that kind of understanding. That's something I'm for. If you have a data center training on movies to understand
I'm all
soundtracks,
for-
I'm for it.
I'm all for 19. Seriously, I've enjoyed just the ability of being able to even use them early in beta form, and just even with some of the crashes, even with some of the instability that comes with it. You got to make sure, obviously, it's beta software. Don't make it your main machine, and of course be safe and make sure all your content is backed up. But no, I think where we are right now with ASUS and with Microsoft and everything at this point is it's going to be down to the developers, down to the software companies to start pushing out more support and better optimizations. It's going to get better. This is a legit thing. We have a plethora of these devices, more to come, I'm sure. There's the Plus, there's the Elite side of this, and Snapdragon is not going to let this just slide. I mean, right now, obviously they're focusing on it.
We're at the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
I believe some of these rumors and some of these analysts' predictions that not X Plus, but X Elite systems are going to start breaking below $1,000 early next year. When you have Strix Point and Lunar Lake, I would not be surprised to see a config, like a starter config, like 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of storage, X Elite, and maybe even the X Elite 80 variant, not just the 78, start hitting like $899. I will be very surprised if prices stay as high as they've been.
Right now we're still in the early phases. They're testing it. They're seeing basically the interest, and they saw a very big. I think like the demand for the hardware was very strong, and we saw them basically meet the challenge. That's the biggest thing. They didn't just again. There's a few skeptics. There's going to be a few people that are not necessarily. Again, for me, the biggest thing with gamers when it comes down when we say the word gamers is. Qualcomm specifically said this is not a gaming system, but I also kind of have
outpaces my Steam Deck.
Well, no, absolutely, but, and I understand why some gamers are kind of hanging on to it because while Qualcomm is saying it's not a gaming system, but then Qualcomm keeps demoing games. The reality is any system can play, any smartphone can play games. That doesn't make it a gaming phone. We gotta be able to delineate the class of the class of hardware. And for productivity, for back to school, seriously, like if the pricing was like what you're saying, $899 or so, these would be perfect back to school systems.
Well, and Simon Says Hypno says that another report he caught, $700 machines early next year. If you can get X Elite at $700, then I don't know. It's tough. I've been reading some of the interviews from like Intel executives because they had a bloodbath of a week.
15,000 worth of. Well, I mean, come on.
Almost 20,000 jobs cut.
Oh crap! It was up to 20.
They're almost 20K now.
They tanked the market, but yeah, let's go.
It's pretty bad. And so when you like point out stuff like, oh no, Qualcomm didn't get a dev kit out in time, and some softwares don't work as well. Nah. I mean, like, if the flip side of this is Intel's business model, they're not getting it done, and I need a competitive option to offer people who say they care about things like battery life. Because
Oh,
so far,
battery life's been
yes,
amazing. It's
sometimes
consistent day and a
you
half.
need to find some alternatives to a program. Like if you're stuck in Lightroom, let me tell you, Affinity is rad, and you can use it for 6 months for free, and it's
Mhm.
ARM native code. But there's very little that's been holding me back from recommending these to even some pretty high level users, especially the people I trust who aren't so incapable of changing a behavior.
Yeah.
If you're a nerd and you like to tinker, especially folks who are like, oh, let me slap a Linux distro, like they're not afraid of changing up a few things to suit a different piece of hardware. This is the
Yeah.
hardware I've been dying for years now. So a little software nonsense isn't gonna bother me.
No, no.
And I genuinely haven't hit an insurmountable roadblock where I can't get work done. By the way,
Mostly.
Beta 6 is installing now, so I'll run a
Okay, so
couple
I'll
like speed
I'll
tests and
fire that
stuff
up
if it.
tomorrow morning. I got- no, no, dude, it's good. It's good. Beta updates. It's. I'm interested to see what we get. What stability improvements we get and what performance increasing. I'm hoping maybe we'll get better render times even, but we'll have to see. Again, for me, what my main thing at this point is the laptop configuration for me is a it's a mobile production studio. Now I need to
Yeah.
be able to edit, I need to be able to produce from it, but I also need to be able to manage, I need to be able to respond, correspond, and of course,
Mm-hmm.
there's the whole daily, the boring part of the job that we need to do.
Right.
And for all of that outside of the rendering part, I think the X Elite performed absolutely. I mean, this is Surface Pro 9 5G to the next level, and I mean, obviously not in the same configuration. What I meant is, as excited and as happy as I was with the Surface Pro 9 5G that we tested maybe about a year or so ago, this just takes it to the next level. My only limitation is then again, what holds me a little bit back is just waiting for DaVinci 19 to come out and fully getting compatibility, which I feel like we're basically at the cusp of that. And then I think that'll be it. I should be able to move out of my Mac because I'm still running the M1. I'm not even, I never upgraded the Mac
Right.
because my hope was to transition out of Mac back into Windows.
God, I mean, on the one hand, it's also like this is exciting for us finally, but
Mhm.
also just how sad that like M1 Mac comes out and you're like, yeah, something's going to be right around the corner. AMD, Intel, they're really going to get their ish together. They're really going to jump on these issues 3 years later. No.
Nothing. Like M2 comes out, M3 comes out, M4 is announced, and then we see it.
Wow.
We're still waiting.
And we
No, I
still
know.
have nerds that are like, I don't know, guys. I don't think you need another option in Windows land. You should just stick with Intel chips that are failing at a remarkable rate because of microcode and power issues. If you just keep buying Intel as their stock tanks, then maybe they'll finally give us what we really need, guys. As if losing the Apple account wasn't the enormous red flag that all was not well
No,
in Windows land.
the signs were there, but with that, I'll say this. With that being said, I feel like there's no shortage of smart computing and hardware to use to produce content with it. Speaking of which that's one thing that you and I've been getting a chance to play with is I was actually kind of surprised and I'm going to do a very bad segue. Not that I'm trying to leave the conversation, but
Segue, do it.
segue, very very bad segue into our Vivo or La Vida Vivo that we both had. And I didn't get a chance to talk to you earlier. I wanted to chat with you earlier and see like, hey, are
Mhm.
we covering the same things? Because you said last
Yeah.
week at the end of the show, you're like, I'm working on something. Maybe that'll be available. Like, wait a minute. So we both have had an opportunity to check out both the Vivo, the V40, the V40 Pro. Although I got a different color than you on the Pro. I got I was gonna say like the ceramic look almost. It's like it's a weird. Come on, Sony. Oh, here it is. Yeah, like it's a weird, like very nice, very polished look,
I like that. Yeah.
and it's
I think
beautiful. It has like hints of
I
blue a little bit into it.
might have been not my V30, maybe my V29. Because they
Okay.
play with so many different backs.
Oh yeah, no,
How
absolutely.
funny is it that they're like the old school Nokia of mid-ranger phones now? Like, what back do you have? Do you have the
Yeah.
color changing back or do you have the marble back?
Well,
So my
so
V40 is this is this nice like purpley thing.
I honestly I dig it. I dig the V40. The V40 we both got the same V40 color. That I dig. Like the color on this, the finish.
And I like your V40 Pro better
Yeah.
than the slate gunmetal gray
No,
that
don't get
I
me wrong.
got.
We got the same
It's kind of
hardware.
dull.
Yeah. Is your case does the case on the V40 Pro that you have, is it transparent or is it a colored case?
No. Where
Did
did
it
my
come with a
case
case?
go? It did come with a case, but I don't know where I threw it, and my desk is trashed. Oh, it's just a slightly darker black.
Oh, okay. So it's okay.
So
So I guess
it's
this
a
one
gray.
because it's a color, they gave us a transparent case, so you get
Yeah.
to actually see the phone.
No, mine's too boring. So what I like is I'll put
Okay.
the purple case from my purple V40
On
on
the
my
V40.
V40 Pro,
Yeah.
and then I'll put the black case on my V40, and it's like this purple accent
Accent.
on a
No,
black
no, no.
case.
I'm with you. I'm with you. So
Again, first world tech reviewer
well, but
issues.
I look. We need to be honest with each other. Okay, look, the design of a smartphone on the outside is the first thing that catches our eyes, right? When you're looking at a smartphone, before they turn on the screen, that's like the first thing we look for. And
Yeah.
the that we've been, I want to say we've been spoiled, but essentially is we've had the opportunity to check out so many
We've been
different
spoiled.
devices. We are
Spoiled.
spoiled, absolutely. I mean, I got a chance to see the Nord 4 in Milan like a month ago, and it just looks so sexy. Like they had so many variants on that, but the machining that they did on the back looks absolutely amazing, and in person even.
It's hot.
And then
It's real good looking.
when the V40 shows up in that nice, more ceramic tile, like it literally looks like a ceramic tile on the back. I was really excited to see the improvements that they've done on the Pro. Like this year's the Pro and so the V40 and the V40 Pro are cousins, or they're siblings with a lot of similarity, but there's very distinct separation between the Pro and the non-Pro this year, which I feel like truly like the moniker Pro fits the bill. Minus the
Well,
whole
I want to start off like
yeah.
how they're similar
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I think we've noticed bigger differences. For anyone who's not familiar,
Mhm.
Vivo has a line of phones just like Samsung. You've got Galaxy S, Galaxy A. For Vivo, it's the Vivo X series are
Yep.
their premium tier devices, and they also have an Ultra, the X100 Ultra.
Yep.
But then their V series is sort of their mid-ranger where they've been trying to push this more upscale.
I have.
I feel they put out too many phones because they usually do two distinct V series generations every year.
I was
They
going
make
to
a
say
big batch of them,
yeah.
and then when that batch is gone, they move on to another mid-year V series. So we've already had a V30,
I was going to say
and
yeah.
now we're going up by tens. So it used to be you would do V27 to V29. Then we got a V30. I was thinking, are we going to do a V32? What's the next V? And instead, now they went from V30 to V40. This is crazy overcomplicated. What was it people used to joke about with OnePlus is a complicated timeline of phones. The V series earns that, I feel.
Well, yeah. There's a departure. There's somewhat of a departure from the 30 series. There's like a distinct. I mean, if nothing else, we finally have stereo speakers. Like that to me was
no. Everything has moved upscale, and that's what I wanted to kind of highlight is compared to previous, even the last generation, earlier this year, the V30, the differences between the number and the Pro are smaller than ever. It's, as far as I can tell, almost exactly the same phone, same screen, same resolution, brightness, refresh rate, same
exactly.
Battery, it's the same charging speed.
Yeah,
it's the same.
They really consolidated on this one.
It's the same main camera and ultra wide. They both now include Zeiss branding, where the numbered phones were not usually the badged partnership with the photography company. Now, even down into the numbered phone, not the light, but the numbered phone, that is now a Zeiss branded device. And when
I got very excited
and when we get into what separates them now, it's the chip in the phone and an additional camera sensor, and that's all that's different.
charging
Oh,
brick,
and
a charging brick.
charging brick in the box and UFS storage.
Oh yeah,
So it's
UFS storage.
UFS 2.2
So
on
the
the
UFS
V40 and it's 3.1 on the V40 Pro.
Pro.
And I don't think that's a huge difference for how people will use these phones that are sort of around $600 MSRP.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can see where a faster internal storage will help in processing when you're doing images and you're taking multiple per burst shots. But you're right. Yeah, for when it comes down to RAM and storage configuration, you can get both configured. Because the units that I got both had 12 gigs of RAM and both had 512 gigs of internal storage. We're still supporting USB 2.0, so there's no video out, no wireless charging. I think those things are kind of pretty much consistent there. The design
And it's another phone like the OnePluses where you have 80-watt charging. And do not miss wireless charging.
There was not even I mentioned it purely if somebody even remotely was thinking about it. But yeah, 80 watts included. I mean, not included, but 80 watts when if you have the charger. I mean, obviously, if you have Vivo chargers from before, you're not going to sweat it. This is going to still be supporting the same tech. I like some of the AI functionalities that we now have also in the Gallery app. That AI eraser, I feel like I don't know if they copied the homework on Oppo's side because it works just the same. But I am not going to point fingers. I'm going to say thank you very much for allowing it to be there. It's available. I think the reality is between the two, going with the 9200 plus was a bold move.
Let's tell people because again, we're Vivo nerds. I'm not sure everyone in North America who listens and watches our podcast is a Vivo nerd. But the Vivo V40.
Yeah,
this is my first experience with a Snapdragon 7 Gen 3.
The 7, yeah, and it's not the
respectable
S. The 7S. Yeah, exactly. It's not the S.
7 Gen 3, not a 7S, not a 7 Plus. All of Qualcomm's stupid naming. It's just the normal 7 Gen 3. Yeah. But then, if you step up to the Pro, you jump to a Dimensity 9200 Plus. The last generation...
legit last generation flagship from
flagship SoC.
Like we're not even playing
MediaTek.
Exactly. Like they didn't go 9,000, they didn't go 91,000. No. They went straight.
If you believe benchmark scores, it is an 80% improvement to single core processing. It is almost 70% improvement to multi-core rendering in Geekbench scores. And the GPUs are hilariously not worth comparing against each other. The 7 Gen 3 is a perfectly respectable mid-tier daily driver kind of SoC, and the Dimensity 9200 is a Dimensity 9200.
But it's
a supercharged V8.
This is the weirdest part about it, because typically what we see from Vivo, this is what surprised me the most. Typically what we see from Vivo is that the best of the best that they offer, like if we go to the X100 Ultra, it's a Snapdragon processor in there. It's not going in with the Dimensity. The Dimensity 9300 for the X100 Pro that we both have a chance to play with, that was considered to be, again, the way they tiered it in there, and basically making the Pro less than the Ultra, making it so that always the highest end was always Snapdragon. But on the V series, they kind of flipped the script a little bit on us. They went with a 9200. Obviously, there's a price factor in this conversation. I feel like that's where they chose to. I'm not going to say compromise. I think it's the selection is correct. This is the right way to do it. 9200 plus. It's slightly more tuned. Maybe better yield. 9200, and MediaTek is still supporting it. It is last year's SoC flagship, which to me makes me feel like the V40 Pro isn't even in the mid-range game anymore. It's in a flagships area.
It's a flagship killer.
It's a legit flagship. That's kind of like when I kind of explained it in my video. It's like we're really not looking at it's like it's seriously like
I had to point out, because like you can put this phone up against a Pixel 8 Pro. In my video, I used a Galaxy S24 Plus as I think the more mainstream example. And the S24 Plus is going to beat it with nicer build materials. I mean, just the back is not plastic. It's going to be a nicer overall, just sort of build and presentation. It'll have wireless charging. It'll have DeX. I wish that the V40 Pro had video out. That would be really nice. But the V40 Pro has a significantly larger battery, ridiculously, almost twice as fast.
5500. We're starting to see a lot more
5500
5500
milliamp hour.
devices,
Yeah.
and that's exciting for me because the fact is that tech is becoming more accessible. If the mid
But
rangers are
80
getting it,
watt
yeah, and
charging
80.
instead of 45 watt charging. And then you break down something crazy like the camera tech.
Yeah,
And in a phone that is gonna, again, if you compare MSRPs in India, the Galaxy S24 Plus, I believe, is almost twice as expensive as the V40 Pro.
mm-hmm.
So when you see the same sized main camera sensor and you see very similar ultra wide performance and then an even bigger sensor on the telephoto than what's on a Galaxy S24 Plus, this thing is going toe to toe minus a video pro mode.
Mm-hmm.
It is directly competing and sometimes besting a significantly more expensive phone from a market leader like Samsung. And that's where we get into really exciting territory. Like the compromises asked on the V40 Pro aren't huge, and this thing can go directly, can do direct battle. A Dimensity 9200 Plus doesn't have a lot of weak spots against a Tensor 3.
No,
It
no,
doesn't
I think
have
in many areas I feel like it actually bests the Tensor 3
in
general.
most ways
If nothing
bests
else,
Tensor
even just
3.
on heat. But it's, to me,
Yeah.
I truly am surprised that they were able to swing that.
Oh,
This
Simon says
seriously,
Hypno beat us to that comment, by the way. If it beats a current Tensor, it's only fair to call it a flagship chip.
oh, seriously.
Sorry.
Ser-
We were more long-winded in getting to the point.
We gotta,
Simon cut right to the quick. He's
Simon's
like, come on, guys.
let me give you
Come
guys
on.
the cliff notes to this long-winded comment.
I could not be getting older listening to you guys ramble right now about chips. Get to the point.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys are doing better than I. No, I'm just kidding. I hope you guys are actually, well, I'll say this. I hope you guys are having a good week. And I know there's a lot of things going on in the world and everything.
And I could use a nap.
Yeah.
A nap before bed.
Oh my God. I got a whole bunch. Like, no, but seriously, it's Thursday night, but I have still so much to do before Sunday is here. And
Yeah,
before the next
same.
week starts, again, Monday morning, man, we're back to school. And I know I say we in the general sense because we all have to be up. We all have to go.
No, it's like the family is a part of it.
Yeah, the
for
whole
sure.
event. Yeah, but also schedules change, curriculum change, routines change. You have to do that hard turn and U-turn back into summer vacation, routines of doing whatever you want, and staying up late and all of that good stuff. But kind of bringing it back with Vivo, the reality is I want to actually poke a little bit more at the comment that you made in your video. So just for your reference, if for you guys, if you're watching, obviously for everybody that's been with us for quite some time, both Juan and I dropped a couple videos on this. There's and we actually, in both of our videos, we kind of put the two devices kind of a little bit head to head together. We want to kind of cover both because they came out at the same time, and we're nice enough to be able to kind of play with both. But you made a comment. You made a specific comment that I'd like you to maybe unfold a little bit for us on this. Why do you feel like the V40 is the better buy? Like I was surprised when I heard that. Seriously, like this is just non JC for me.
I am increasingly, so when I talk to family and friends, a lot of the things that we care about not on their radar at all. And when we're chatting with folks here in the chat, I think a lot of people understand, if they've been watching our videos for a while, why I'm trying to have these different conversations on things like, compute power.
Mm-hmm.
I think it matters that you do more than just a Geekbench test and opening and closing apps to try and talk about performance. So when I look at a product that's sort of a nicer mid-ranger, this is a purpose-built phone that is meant to exist at a lower price than an X series.
Yes.
And so with the most expensive V series is just a little under the least expensive X series, but there is a line. Yeah. Vivo is carving a line in between those two devices, and they're saying these are different experiences for different consumers. Now that the V40 is bringing the Zeiss partnership to the table, has the same battery, has the same charging, but a lower power SoC, I genuinely believe that the target consumer for a mid-ranger phone, a less expensive phone, will actually prefer the V40 over the V40 Pro just because this is ridiculously easy to drive to 3 days of battery life.
Yes.
3 days of real constant daily driver communication, social media, watching some video, all of those things that we say average consumers. The V40 is actually the better flavor of that.
Okay.
Just because it sips a lot less electricity consuming.
But it's still powerful enough to
It's still punchy enough to step up.
Exactly.
So the areas where the Dimensity 9200 pull away are in very niche territory.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you talk about like, hey, the Pro has the extra telephoto camera.
I was about to, I was going to say the processor is like one part of the conversation. For me, it's the telephoto lens as well.
The telephoto is only a 2x zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of your portrait mode stuff, I'm sorry, no one is going to be able to tell the difference at a 50mm equivalent if you do a 2x crop from the main camera or use a smaller sensor with a dedicated 50mm equivalent lens. I put two photos up side by side, and the only way I know I can tell the difference between the two photos that I took, and I know which phone I was holding, is because I can look at the metadata of each photo, and I saved them in separate folders.
But did you also notice that the focusing distance was slightly different between the two?
Oh, for sure. They focus
Pro,
a little different.
Yeah, the Pro you need to kind of step back a little bit more than the non-Pro. I mean, again, I was trying to replicate a lot of the shots.
That's in part because I actually think this is something I wish Vivo would step away from. I don't think you need a 50mm lens. I don't think you need a 2x zoom anymore.
No.
In fact, I would even argue that when you look at a phone like the Note 24, I don't think you need a 3x zoom anymore. I think you can make the jump from around a 23mm equivalent, you can zoom into a 50, and then you can jump to like 100.
Yeah.
Because from 50 to 100, yeah, you might lose a little resolution, but often you can go to 50 and then move around with your feet just a bit to get the photo that you really want. Yeah. The dedicated 2x zoom, the only time you see an improvement in photo IQ is when you zoom out past 4x zoom. Mm-hmm. Then you get just that little bit of extra room to crop from the telephoto, but that's not a super zooming, and this is never meant to be like a super zooming kind of camera.
No. Yeah, we have to, again, this is
that's
where
not
the
what
V
it's attempting to do at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not trying to best the X series.
The V series is a portrait fashion phone.
That's what the biggest focus about this thing is entirely. I feel like Zeiss's collaboration with them was mostly focused around their portrait photography. The front facing.
This is all about making you look amazing on social media. Mm-hmm. Even the Aura Light feature is phenomenal. Even though I miss having the ring flash from the V30, the larger flash surface area. So when I'm comparing these two devices, and I know one is going to be noticeably more expensive, not like crazy more expensive, but it's a jump going from the V40 to the V40 Pro.
Yeah.
The Dimensity, I don't feel has room to really unleash the full potential of that chip. So you burn through your battery faster, you don't have video out, so you can't expand on this use. And this is an area of the world and a target market, especially when we're talking about India. It would be amazing even if we just had video out, a Dimensity 9200 Plus in the premium mid-range that you could plug into another display and use that compute power more effectively on another like display, that would totally change the game for me. Then I would be much more in line with the V40 Pro.
So
if you're telling me,
no,
sorry, just to wrap up the point,
please,
and I'll shut up. He's like, yeah, please shut up.
That's right. That's not what I. You connect two dots, and that is just. Finish.
No, it was perfect timing. You nailed it.
Yeah, but you're like dunking on yourself, dude. So take it easy.
Well, that's the best.
Let me I very much have something on this show. No, sorry,
I very much enjoyed the self-effacing humor.
I didn't have to participate. I could have just stepped out and had a cup of coffee. Go ahead.
The benefits that come from that Dimensity are You get faster video recording, so you can go up to
Absolutely.
4K 60.
Yep.
But
Although,
again,
I will say the 7 Gen 3 can do 4K 60. There's some software limitation that we're doing here.
oh, for sure. But
There's
I'm
a
just
line in
saying,
the sand that was
I'm just
drawn,
saying
but yeah.
V40, V40 Pro. I'm not saying any phone with a 7 Gen 3. I'm just saying Vivo
Yeah.
has put these two out, and they've divided them based
Yeah.
on these features and specs.
Absolutely.
And that is a division that I don't think many consumers are going to be too upset about.
No.
So few of my family or friends shoot 4K 60. So again, if you're talking about a mainstream consumer mid-priced phone, I think the V40 doesn't represent a compromise for how the intended target market might use that phone. This is not a gamer device. It's not being sold as one. Even though the Dimensity 9200 Plus is very good at playing games,
Dude, it
this
does
is not the
120
option.
frames per second in Call of Duty mobile
It
and
looks
multiplayer. That to me
it
was
looks
like
great.
really, yeah, yeah.
It's awesome.
Super buttery smooth.
But I'm still, this isn't, I mean, I would still be more inclined to maybe push someone more towards Poco F, or maybe
Yeah.
even some of the more dedicated, like if you can get a Red Magic and you tell me you care about mobile gaming on a phone, then that's the phone you should probably be looking at.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm with
I
you.
don't know that graphics intense gaming is really moving the needle on someone moving from V40 to V40 Pro.
I
And
don't
the
think it's going to
main
be the
features on
decision.
this,
Yeah,
but the main focus on this is the phone I want to start showing people, like, these are photography heavy features that care about you and your nightlife. Like, look at how crappy your photo comes out at night with a normal smartphone flash. Now, look at what Auralite can do to help act like a fill. It's
hmm
so much brighter, and it's this amazing color temperature gauging set of LEDs. It's like nothing else on the market today. It is a fashion phone.
yeah.
And I don't think the fashion phone market cares about graphics intense gaming and 4K 60 video. And those are the two main perks. So why spend more on the V40 Pro when the V40 is now so much closer to that same experience?
So what you're saying
That's
is,
why I kind of feel V40 actually makes a better case for its existence this year.
I, I'm with you in two. Okay, so what you're saying makes perfect sense, and I agree. I will say with like 99% of the comment, the statements that you've made, and I think you're right. You're thinking about the market that it's going into. You're thinking about the user. You're thinking also about the use case of you have a bigger battery. The processor will last you longer. Performance isn't really compromised. The same display, same refresh rate, same charging. Like they kept the secret sauce to a small few variations in flavor profiles.
Yeah.
For me, what reason why I kind of point towards the Pro a little bit more, and it's it is because of that extra sensor. And I realize the performance per I guess again we're not talking like night and day performance. You were able to at least at the 50 millimeter focal length generate very similar images, although
Oh,
you
yeah.
may have to stand up a little bit on the portrait side. The processing may be a little bit faster. The internal storage may be a little bit faster.
Yeah.
It's going to come down to I feel like it's more about, because even with, I'll say this, I'm running it at the highest resolution and I'm running it with 120 frames per second all the time. I'm not,
Yeah.
I always turn any of those features whenever I have anything 5,000 or above battery.
Eye
All the
candy.
features, yeah, no, eye candy. I want everything on. I want this thing to, it's like you want to get the performance that you want, the advertised
For
performance.
sure.
Okay. Now, obviously, I'm not putting it in game mode the whole time because that just, it's crazy.
Actually, you know what's funny about the Dimensity 9200 is
Mhm.
I was running some of those tests. I should actually go through and share some of that data too.
Yeah.
When you put it into high boost mode,
Mhm.
you can often find situations where it delivers poorer results
It does.
if you have any kind of sustained task, because it will run a little warmer. And there are a couple, not many, but a couple situations where MediaTek had some weaknesses,
Mhm.
some serious weaknesses until the Dimensity 9300, that in very mundane things that you probably won't do a whole lot on your phone, the 7 Gen 3 can actually catch it
Well, there was
and
still
use
this
less
is the
power
older
doing it,
configuration
which
too, right?
is
The
crazy.
92 still ran the older configuration of processors, and that they
Oh,
shifted
yeah.
into the 93. They obviously there's benefit.
Oh, yeah. And I'm saying, hands down, you will notice in the vast majority of apps and games that you play, it's not close. The Dimensity 9200 Plus is just an absolute monster. But there were
Yeah.
a couple funky little consistent weaknesses that MediaTek had with the 9000 and the 9200. And it's funny when one of them pops up and then you're like, oh, I can now explain why this cheaper phone can outperform this premium expensive phone. Dimensity.
It kind of also jumps into the conversation where you get the Poco when you jump into the Poco conversation as well, like with the F series.
Yeah.
We're seeing that quite a bit. Like there's a harder delineation, but it is going to come down to, I would say, what you're looking for and what you want out of the V series. I think even in the sense of what the V40 Pro does, even though being more priced higher than the V40 as it should, it still provides, in my opinion, a good bang for the buck when you compare it to, let's say, the Honor 200, or you start comparing to some of the other options on the market.
I don't disagree, because I think you can put this phone, again, it's a fashion phone, but I think you can go directly against a Pixel 8.
Oh no, absolutely.
I mean,
but like
save at least $100 if you try and do the exchange rates on what Pixel versus a Vivo would cost in different regions.
Oh no, absolutely.
I think it can go toe to toe with the Galaxy S24 Plus, but I'm just saying, there is an idea of a consumer who wants a phone that takes the most flattering nightlife pictures of their events. And I don't think you get a better experience of that when you step up to the Pro. I think the edge cases like graphics intense gaming, video editing and rendering, the high performance stuff, that definitely. But I don't think that's what the V is really trying to accomplish. I think the V is a fashion phone. And in that, I think you get 98% of the fashion phone experience for like the equivalent of $200 less than the fully spec'd out Pro V series. And for me, I think most consumers would rather err on that side and then get the benefit of extended battery life.
Oh, no, absolutely.
So I'll compromise 4K 60. I'll have the exact same battery recharge speeds, but my phone will last probably an extra 8 hours out in the field with my kind of use. So again, I'm really like splitting hairs down into like a very specific.
But we have to because
nuance
when you're making a decision to purchase a device, it's a piece of tech that you're planning on living with for some time. It's not, 2 to 3 years sometimes. And the reality is, those are the things that you need to think about. So from everything else, it launches with Android 14, with FunTouch OS 14. The AI features are also built in here into the Gallery app. The AI remover is very, very nice. It's actually very strong.
It's good
in the performance. Like,
have you noticed? I didn't bring this up in my video because I had to play with it while I was editing, and I couldn't like reshoot parts of the video in real time. But have you noticed how their AI remover isn't a remover? So I'm sitting and I have this terrible selfie of me, and I can see that horrible old thermostat control panel right above my head. I think, hey, this will be cool to show on camera. It's a photo of me looking awful because I'm still whooped. My face is still like a crazy like landmine explosion of post-COVID. But I go to circle it, and it doesn't remove it and replace it with wall. It actually changes it into a new generative panel behind me. The AI remover isn't really a remover. It's a generative content filling tool that takes a guess and it puts another thing.
Sometimes I've had that happen. It doesn't always do that. With people, it doesn't do that.
It's crazy.
Objects, it's more likely with objects if you're trying to remove it. Because what it's trying to do is trying to create an AI, what it perceives to be a natural alternative to what you didn't like, right? Like you're telling it, I don't like blah, and it's giving you another flavor of it, hoping that you'll be fine. Like, because
they don't know. A fancier thermostat.
But I'll say this: what's it called? Oppo's does the same. Realme's does the same. It's very much the way the tool is designed. This is why I kept like when I saw it, I'm like, wait a minute. are you guys sharing? Is there are the
Mhm.
engineers from both sides having dinner together and talking stuff? You know, they're talking shop when they're not supposed to.
And
Don't get
it's
me
like,
wrong.
okay, just change a few answers so that it doesn't look like you
Yeah,
copied my
change
homework.
the name of the tool so that it doesn't sound like we're saying separate. Because you know, I mean, anyways, with you know, with OnePlus starting to showcase. I mean, so their new variant of the OnePlus Open now is supposed to have AI features built into it.
Hmm.
So that's a new thing that we haven't seen before. But I'm assuming obviously it's very much going to be what we've seen with Oppo, what we've seen with Realme, just finally kind of making its way to OnePlus devices, which is exciting for me at least, because our OnePlus Pad is supposed to get some of that as well. And so to me, it's nice to see. I'll be honest with you, I used the AI eraser functionality quite a bit. Okay, on when I was traveling with, especially when you go to traveling to places where there's a lot of people, there's like a
Yeah.
gazillion people, and you're there, and you're trying to ever so nicely nudging, kind of remove certain things here and there, just to make it look pretty.
My
Um,
favorite is like you go to Disneyland and you want to take a cool photo of your daughter in front of the Millennium Falcon, and there's always some jerk who has to be like beer belly, pooched out, standing right in front of the Millennium Falcon, checking his email there. And you're like, you couldn't be less aware of how
like
much
this
you
is
suck.
it's it is
And
it is
then Magic
inevitable.
Eraser is like, this is awesome. I'm just gonna scrub this guy out of existence. This is who should get dusted when Thanos snaps. Is that person right there?
No, no,
And it's like
it's
I need to start like sharing a collection. When I did I want to say I think it was called the Kumba Cam or something
okay.
like that. It was like a really early smartphone gimbal, and I took it to the Museum of Natural History. You know, we did a photo
Oh yeah, yeah,
a
we did
photo
that. We were
walk
yeah,
at the
yeah.
Museum of Natural History, and there's that amazing T-Rex fighting a Triceratops, and it's a dude in a ball cap, just beer belly pushed out, like limp wristedly holding a phone, standing right in front of the T-Rex, looking at his phone right there. And you're like, you were standing in one of the most iconic museum photo
Spot.
locations in the United States, and you could not be more of a douche than. And at the time, I believe this was probably like Galaxy S4 era. No, Galaxy S6 era
Mhm.
of phones. Like we didn't have these kinds of tools where I
No,
could
no,
just
no,
wipe
no.
this
There
guy
there
out
was
of
no
existence.
you had to be like a genius in Photoshop to be able to even do remotely what did like
I
the
even
reality.
tried. I was like
Yeah,
trying to like paint him out. You're like, this sucks so much. I don't know who this guy is. He's probably a lovely gentleman, has a family, whatever. But you could not have been more of a museum visit wrecking jerk than in that moment right there. So I'm sorry, I
we'll have to send the
digress.
house. Yeah, yeah, no, no.
The AI tools on the V40
I
are really good.
they're very good. They're very much the Pixel experience that we've come to love and enjoy. That, and I'm enjoying the fact that we are seeing more and more devices now feature this. That it is no
Yeah,
longer and they're not charging for it. It is not part of
no.
the AI functionality. I mean, Samsung has their own version, a flavor of it, whatever. They're getting
You know,
different things in there.
I think the sheen on sort of the heavy data center flavor of AI is
Mhm.
finally starting to wipe off. I mean, it's something I've been cranky yelling politically about for a while, at least since some of the first reports came out on like data center use skyrocketing. For example, our friend Mishal
Yeah, yeah.
just recently posted like this new Galaxy AI stuff, like it's only using Gemini for one very specific like use. I can't
Mhm.
remember how he phrased it. I could go digging through Mastodon right now, but it's like all of this noise. Oh, look at this amazing collaboration, and there's going to be Galaxy AI and Gemini and Google and data centers, and then you're like, the reality of this is it's like one little photo editing tool. And that's it. That's the only thing that
Oh wow.
Gemini is being used for on a Galaxy phone. And you're like, what is it that we're really trying to build up here? Once you have better subject detection, like we've had on since Kirin chipsets,
Mhm.
where the phone can kind of guess what the subject of your photo is, really it's just the minor iterative advancements in machine learning to do something like paint out something and guess what would have been behind it for a nicer photo. But that's not revolutionary artificial intelligence.
Well, yeah,
So I
that's the
think the
thing.
Vivo is
We're still
nailing
using.
like
Yeah.
that kind of direct consumer accessible tool where like Microsoft, I'm sorry, like the creative filtering on Windows Photos is one of the dumbest things that I've ever seen. It is pathetically stupid. Take this photo and make it look like an oil painting. And then you get something that doesn't look like your photo anymore, but does not look like
Look
an
like an
oil
oil paint.
painting.
I love the double fail conversation going on.
It's like you failed twice
Yeah,
at the
no.
one task I gave you. Sorry.
No, no.
You were trying to make a point, and I keep getting
No.
cranky and
Look, the
gesticulating.
exciting part is that we finally have some additional features now that are accessible, even at the mid range, even at the V series, and that it's something that you're able to. I mean, and it is quite good. It's not just like an AI like remover or something like that. A basic one where basically you highlight something and suddenly all you have is a smeared photo of something because it's trying to do what we used to do in Photoshop, where we can basically copy a cell, move it over, and then basically just implode into the. Anyways, it does a very good job. If you get an opportunity to check it out, depending where you guys are, and maybe they have it at a Vivo store or something like that, check it out. Get a chance to see what Vivo has, and there's links obviously in the description below for both of our channels. You can check out the video. Juan, I think your video just dropped today, if I'm not mistaken.
I misread the embargo and thought it was
the 8th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
no, it's okay.
My video went out a day after everyone else's.
No. I misread the embargo, and I thought it was supposed to go up on the 6th. I'm sorry, on the 7th.
Oh.
So I was frantically panicking, trying to get everything, and then when I reread it again, I'm like, yeah.
I got time.
That's
better.
Well, yeah. Usually I'm on the other side. Usually I'm like, crap, I forgot. Sorry, it's been knee deep in anything, but I know. Videos are out. Obviously, our thoughts on both of these devices are that they're great for what they offer, and it's going to end up basically coming down to what you're looking for into what's being offered from Vivo. But the collaboration with Zeiss, I think as Juan said, even in his video, is that we should have had a charger in the box for both. There's no reason the V40 didn't need to have that, but again.
And also, I would like to point out that if the mission, do I still have it on my desk or did I put it away? But okay, so, and this isn't going to mean a whole heck of a lot for our North American friends who can't ever buy or play with these phones anyway. But you could look at a V40 Pro. You could look at a V40 Pro. I put the purple case on my V40 Pro. If the mission is to have the best version of a nightlife photo, portrait, social media photography kind of experience, now would be a really good time to buy the V30 Pro, which has the same cameras, less powerful SoC, so it's not going to be as powerful. Demanding. It's not going to be as good for gaming. It's going to be better for battery life, even though it still has a slightly smaller battery. And then you get the really big ring flash Auralite. I don't know if I can do this easily. Sure. So I'm going to try and hold up both of these.
Oh, yeah. I think you just need to go into the camera app and turn on
the flash. Yep. So here is the Auralite on the. This is excellent audio podcasting, by the way.
Absolutely.
Here's the
Auralite watching on the audio side.
On the V40. And you can see like that's a nice fill, and you can get in there and you can change the color temperature, although my camera probably won't show that off great.
Not
you can
great.
See it's basically
we can tell. Yeah, you're changing. It's going warmer and cooler. Exactly.
It's a small circle, but it fills in a bit more light than a traditional smartphone camera flash. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. We turn on the Auralite for the V30, and the entire square on the back of the phone just starts glowing.
It's so bright though, dude, that it's hard to tell.
It's washing out on my camera.
Here. Yeah, well, because you're also looking at a white phone. Yeah, you got to turn off maybe the light or something. Or okay, I was about to say.
And try going a little.
Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, much better. See?
Darker. Yeah. Oops. Let me turn the camera back on.
Again. For everybody watching on the audio side, for anybody listening on the audio side, Juan's holding two phones, the V40 Pro and the V30 Pro, with both versions of the Auralite. Yeah, you definitely are getting way more. There's a
so not only, and we're not just saying brighter, but it's a larger surface area, it's like a ring light,
Yeah.
like you see for like influencers. So when you take a photo of someone with this in darker conditions, there's that light is spread. It's more diffuse and brighter.
Yep.
And it's not a radical difference when you look at dark photos, photos taken in dark conditions between the V40 Pro and the V30 Pro.
Mhm.
But I like the V30 Pro photos a little better. And I think it spreads that light a little nicer. So with the release of the new hotness, I'm sure someone in those regions who would shop a Vivo could probably find a really good sales price on a V30 Pro. And I think you actually get one feature benefit on that camera that the V40 Pro can't emulate.
Good point. Good point. I'm excited for that. It's a good, yeah. And then we'll get Juan back into.
I'll turn my
proper
ISO
exposure.
back up.
Yeah, no. I'm with you. But so yeah, hopefully you guys let us know obviously what you think of the videos, and of course share with us what your thoughts are. The other thing that's been going on, at least on my mind, obviously outside of the Intel layoffs and the whole stock market kind of going up, is we are T minus what 5 days or so to what is today's Thursday? Yeah, right. For the Google Made by Google event that's going to happen next week at San Jose or San Francisco, no, Mountain View. Sorry, I don't know why I said San Jose. The Google campus and so on, as we typically see. And, for the most part, everything that's going to be launched, it's kind of already leaked. We already know the 9, the 9 Pro, the Pixel Fold. I forget how they named it. Pixel Fold XL, is it? No, the 9.
Isn't the Pixel 9 Fold?
Yeah, I think the Pixel 9 Fold, and then there's the Pixel 9 XL, if I'm not mistaken. So Pro, Standard,
we
XL.
got Pixel 9, Pixel 9 Pro, Pro XL, and Pixel 9 Fold.
And Pixel 9 Fold. So
be 4.
There should be 4, maybe more. I don't know at this point. I'm a little okay. So I'm excited for the fact that we're almost at a new Pixel series. I'm a little confused as to the rationale of the way we're doing it, or not we, but like the goal of going into 3 different devices. And I mean, the foldable made sense. That's a sequel. We knew that. We knew that was basically they didn't announce it at I/O. They were going to be launching it with the Pro.
So here's my question to you. Do you think the Pixel 9 steps on the A series for next year?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, do we get a Pixel 9A that's even more compromised than a 9?
I don't think it.
Like, that's what's tricky.
It's always tricky with the 9 series, with the straight number series, because you're right. The A series always bumps next to it, bumps into it. There's enough of a gap between the standard number and the A variant of it. It's somewhere along the line of like 8 months, more than half a year. That I feel like the A series is more of a stopgap, so that people can still think of the more entry level side, that it gets to shine on its own.
For sure.
And between the 9 and the 9A, I think it's just going to be a continuing story. I don't think they're going to gimp the 9A. I feel like what they've been doing year over year is boosting the A series performance a little more, giving us a little more generational upgrade more. But yeah, for all, we have even an extra version now. We have the Pro and an XL. So again, we're creating an even more delineation. How are we going to separate the performance? Because they're all going to run Tensor, right? They're all going to have the same chip. It's going to come down to, again, not SoC, but size of the device, size of battery, technology for the display.
I almost feel like you could coast 8A for another year.
Oh, absolutely. But
that's what I mean is like.
Oh, you're saying is why would you pick up a 9 over an 8A kind of a thing?
Kinda.
Okay.
If what we're hearing in terms of rumors on things like performance, and I guess radio management is actually going to be one of the bigger upgrades to look out for, because Samsung's radios are still well behind like MediaTek radios and Qualcomm radios. Almost kind of makes sense in my brain. Go to Tensor 4 for the Pixel 9s. Keep an 8A on Tensor 3 through 2025, and then you can use Tensor 4s in a 9A in 2026. I almost feel like you can pause out the 8A, use that for a whole extra year, and then you've got last year's tech in the A series with current tech going to
So
the 9 and the Pro.
almost eliminating the reason or the need for the straight number phone variant of the phone.
Well, I mean, you could still see. This is why I mean, like, I have a hard time if we had just waited on Marie's phone
Hmm.
a couple months. She needed a phone. It was like her older phone was not doing well. She was borrowing a Sony from me because we were thinking we'd maybe try to get her an Xperia 5, but that never came to the United States.
Hmm.
So she needed a phone. We got the Pixel 8. Now that I've got a Pixel 8a in house, if we had had an option for an 8a, we totally would have gotten her that instead.
I
Like that,
agree. I agree.
for us, the 8a makes so much more sense to so many more people
The A series
over
makes the
the
standard
normal
number
number. Harder.
harder
I think
to
it's
recommend.
harder to justify the
Yeah.
number, not the
No,
A
no,
series. The
exactly. Yeah,
number,
no, no,
yeah.
not the Pro, not the XL. The A makes it harder because of the way the A series has become. I mean, we went from a very budget friendly, very again, very I'm not going to say low performance device. Like when we used to have the 3 and the 3XL, and when we went to the 4, the 4A 5G, and then the 4A 5, and then the 5, and then everything. I mean, the 5 obviously was a reset number kind of thing, but the story is pick up the A because you'll probably get a better deal on it anyways. And if you pick up the A in the year that the 9, the next generation number comes out, you're not missing out. You're still going to be on the same bandwagon with all the software updates. You're still going to be getting the updates to Android, the next
Yeah.
version of Android. Is maybe in the long run, you'll have maybe one less year, but that's in so many years,
Yeah.
like 5 to 7 years. It's like we're talking years here.
Yeah, you're
The
fine.
reality is it's a harder recommendation. Absolutely. I feel like the 9 series or
But
even
I feel like
yeah,
you in the second half of the year, you launch the new technology,
yeah.
and then the year following, you go a year older.
No,
So,
but that's what the A series is supposed to be. It's intended to.
but it kind of just steps on what is current. I mean, the 6A was actually more powerful, was actually a better performing chip in a lot of benchmarks
Mhm.
when you were running it in the lower resolution and lower refresh rate display than the 6 Pro.
Yeah.
The 7A started balancing that out, and now the 8A is actually a poorer performer than the 8 Pro. But the way that they kind of overlap, I feel like you need a more distinct year over year deficit. I think the 8A needs to be an older, if like a full generation older, not just this
Last year.
is the current generation of chips that are coming out. Do you know what I mean? Like I
No,
feel
I'm
like
with you.
that's
Like
why you would
the
maybe
8A should have been Tensor 2 as opposed to Tensor 3, and at least it would be. And but then yeah, then the question would be: is it more of a fabrication situation where they're able to continue making those chips because then now they have to carry it for an extra year as opposed to just taking it from the
But I
same
mean,
batch?
look at all the run that Tensor 2 got. Tensor 2's in a bunch of phones, a
That's
tablet,
true.
and a
It's in
foldable.
and it's in the fold. I was gonna
So
say it's in the first Pixel Fold.
it
Yeah.
depends on yield, it depends on how a node matures, and it depends on the relationship that you have with the foundry that or
Hmm.
the fab that's
Yeah.
making that chip. And
I
that'll
think it
definitely
would
be
make
a
it.
complicated situation for
Oh,
Google into the next
absolutely.
year.
But it would at least bring
But
the
I
price
still
down a
feel
little
like
bit if they did that.
Samsung would love to have some business for an extra year on
One
a
more year
Tensor
making the same.
4.
Yeah, yeah.
They'd love to have that customer. 'Cause I think you'd get a really good deal on Samsung making that chip for an extra year to have a sort of a delayed 9A
Yeah.
on a year older version of the Tensor.
It would at least make it an easier delineation, like you said. When you're looking at the 8A or the A series, it'll be a year or so older. I think if Google is listening, I think this is some good. So this is a really good option, a good opportunity, maybe to consider this in maybe even the 9A. Maybe keep the 9A on the Tensor
Yeah.
G3. Don't jump to the next level and maybe drop the price a little bit.
Or I mean, like if you don't keep the exact same phone, if you need the headline that there's a 9A, but doing that where it's basically just a rebadged 8A with maybe
Yeah.
some minor change or different storage config or something. You can do that. You can play around with it. It's going to be interesting to me what gets announced at this event
Yeah.
because I worry Google is not reading the room. I think they're going to go in there, and I think they're
Mhm.
going to Gemini, and they're going to AI,
AI.
and they're gonna give us a rundown on all the phone specs that we already know, and I don't think they're gonna stick the landing
Mhm.
on what makes each individual device unique and why we now have a stratification of 4 different devices at varying price
I really
points.
want to know.
I'm really
Yeah,
worried.
I want to understand because I don't think there's been one comment and that I've seen at least of anybody ever saying, "Hey, the Pixel 8 Pro is not big enough. We need bigger. We need XL. Like bring back the XL from the days of the 4A the was it for the 4A XL or no, the 5, yeah, it was the 4A XL when we used to have an XL part of the title."
When
Um
we used to use code names like Shamu,
Shamu. I have one here somewhere.
I love it.
The original XL, the big boy
Right?
of all of them. Um, I'm a little again. I'm looking forward to finding out what their the delineation between each
Yeah.
specific side. I feel like the 9 again will have the same continuing conversation or the challenge to try to recommend based on the 8A's presence in the ecosystem. But the Pro and the XL need to kind of um, make sense of what they are, of what the features are, because now either they're downplaying the Pro, which means the Pro won't be the best of what it used to be, and the XL is not going to just because you know what I mean. Like when you say the 9 Pro and the 9 XL, the way you sounded that way, it's kind of like where Apple says, we have the 8, sorry, the 15 Plus, and then the 15 Pro and the 15 Pro Max,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like there's the XL may end up actually being less of a performer than the Pro, where the Pro may still be the higher end, and the XL is purely a larger version of the 8
And
of the
until we
9.
actually,
Sorry.
because we've got all the specs, we've got all
Yeah, yeah.
the parts and pieces, we kind of know what the pricing on these are going to be.
Oh, of
People
course.
are
Yeah.
like tearing their hair out that they're the same price as iPhones. How dare Google put out phones that are the same price as iPhones? No one is allowed to do that. That's that's heresy,
That's
said
Apple
a
land,
bunch
man.
of
You don't
techies
swim in
on
that part of the
threads.
pool, man. You don't cross over that line.
So
Not with
here's
me.
here's the big thing I want slash need. I want Google to show us that they can return to features and functionality on the device that have nothing to do with AI, and I need to see a somewhat improved tablety desktop mode on Android 15.
I really
And I
hope they
really
talk about
hope that it's in Android 15 and that it's not just a part of the Pixel launcher that enables this. I really hope that this is something that other manufacturers will be able to at least turn on, if not augment, to make development easier on things like Dex and Ready for and Honor Magic
it.
Desktop. And
Yep.
if I can point someone to a Pixel 8a that can be plugged into a monitor and used as a reasonable facsimile of a Chrome OS device,
Hmm.
that becomes a much more exciting $300 to $500 buy for a phone. That
Yeah.
becomes an incredible opportunity in a mid-ranger. I'm actually not that excited about the premium tier phones getting those features because we have Moto Ready 4 and we have Samsung Dex. We haven't had anything in the mid-range with the exception, I guess you would say the Think phone, but since the LG Velvet that you could plug into a monitor and you had a proper
That
windowed environment to do
yeah, and
other
that
work
actually had
on.
a proper 7 series chip in it as well. It was actually geared for
So
it.
Tensor 3, but the functionality of having that kind of augmented desktop
I hope.
experience
Yeah, yeah,
becomes incredibly exciting to me.
yeah. And I
So,
think those are the things I'm hoping they cover in again. I mean, we're days away. We're days away, and like you said, we pretty much have seen the whole kit and caboodle on this one. Um, we'll
because
have
here's
to
what
see.
I'm also worried about
Mhm.
is you get a Pixel 9 Pro,
Yeah,
and let's say Tensor 4 is only the most minor of improvements over Tensor 3. That means it's still less powerful than a Xiaomi 12S Ultra.
okay.
The main camera sensor is smaller, the telephoto camera sensor is smaller, and the upgrade for the Pixel Ultra Wide only brings it closer to a Xiaomi 12S Ultra. So we will genuinely be almost 3 years behind the rest of the world in performance, going Tensor 4 against a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. Camera technology, we're still behind. So we're not 3 years behind the rest of the world. We'll be going on 4 years behind Xiaomi and Vivo and Oppo and Sharp using
Wow.
much better camera technology than we've got. It still won't have. Wait, no. The Xiaomi 12S Ultra, did that have 60-watt charging? I can't remember. I think the 12S Ultra had 65-watt charging.
I think it had to. Yeah, it was a higher end. Yeah.
But again, we'll have the exciting upgrade of 40-watt charging. Ooh! It's half the speed of my mid-ranger Vivo sitting on my desk right here. That's how far behind North America is in the actual components and hardware and features, and we've been coasting. We've been coasting now for 3 years.
I don't know why
on technology.
Oh, this is what I don't understand. Okay? I understand.
What's stopping someone from going to Sony and buying some new camera sensors? I don't get it. I just don't get it.
It's oh my god, I don't. Yeah, we're not obviously privy to any of those behind closed door conversations and planning and focus groups and whatever decision. Yeah, it's hard. We're not. I mean, we'll have to see. So I think for me,
I'm gonna have this guy charged and updated for the Pixel 9 launch, and it's going head to head. I'm gonna put my Xiaomi 12S Ultra head to head against the Pixel 9
Pro
and a Pixel 9 Pro, not a Pixel 9. I'll be more accurate there. And if you care about photography, things like a shallow depth of field, that kind of low light performance, raw photo capture is gonna be better here.
Oh, absolutely. You have that one in sensor. No, we're also talking about there's a big difference in hardware when it comes to focus. Also, the Vivo's been. I mean, even Xiaomi and Vivo and Oppo, they're all
just
years.
Incredible.
We are years behind in the U.S. market into what we're getting outside of there. And the weird part about it is it's a weird bubble that we don't get the chance to. I mean, you and I got a chance to play around with it and some of our friends as well. And we talk about these pieces of tech. And I hope that it allows people to maybe even consider, maybe looking at some of the devices outside of it. But seriously, since early last year with the 13 Ultra, with the 14 Ultra, and the Vivos, all of them, I've been very much pleased and in love with all those sensors. And I truly no longer I don't longer feel like the need I need to take with me a camera, like a full body DSLR, just to be able to capture content. It is so good. I mean, the presence of a piece of tech, even just like this, like the Osmo Pocket 3, this in combination with the X100 Pro, that is my production rig.
Yep.
That is legit my production rig. I don't need anything
else.
So
much more streamlined.
And it is, absolutely. And so those are the things that you need to kind of we're moving towards that. I hope at some point because right now Pixel, what Pixel feel like is still in that position where almost like they're stuck in that style of we're trying to be the the Android variant of Apple. Like they're trying to, in collaboration with the de facto, what everybody thinks, the Android is basically Samsung kind of a thing. There's that game that they're trying to play. Like the new folds from what we've seen is supposed to be a major upgrade from what we've seen from the first generation, at least according to some of the leaks. So I'm not going to deny the fact that I'm interested to see what they're going to offer. I hope that they deliver. And we all know that we're waiting for next year's generation when there's that bigger separation between Samsung and Google when it comes down to the SoC manufacturing, to where we see the performance improvements and hopefully TSMC
I don't want us
being the thing.
I don't want us to be playing that game of 2 years from now, or like the only thing that it's a slow news week, so let's speculate on what iPhone is going to bring in 2026, and that's how we get easy clicks online. I don't want to play that hack of a game. I need Google to come out and show us that they're working on anything else. And Gemini is not going to move the needle. I'm
hoping for glasses, bro. I'm legit hoping for the glasses.
I'm hoping for accessories. We're going to see an improvement to the watch. OnePlus, the Pixel Buds Pro 2 should be a nice talking point, a nice refresh. But if you come out on stage and you say, hey, we're so excited, Pixel Buds 2 now have Gemini. It's not it. That's not really
That's not what
moving
we
the
were
needle.
missing. That is not what we were. Yeah, this
It's
this
not.
Gemini AI Gemini AI Gemini. I don't get me wrong. I understand what they're doing. I understand why they're saying the word enough times. It is investors. We need to talk to them. There's a money conversation going on. I'm with you. But the reality is the users are not able to benefit from those features because they're not able to use them. They're gate kept by a fee. I mean, they're sorry. Gemini isn't necessarily paid. You can use free version of Gemini, but the flexing of the functions that they're trying to promote and the options that you're able to get are hindered tremendously outside of the US. They're not as fluid as it seems to be. Travel with a Pixel, use a Pixel outside of the US and see how things change when your internet connection is not the best. All like a good number, like the video processing feature that they have goes out the door. The AI processing, if your internet's not even that good, it's going to keep erroring out on you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you have to keep in mind
But
that I
you
feel
know
like
what
I'm
would
hoping
help
they
me-
shift some of that on device.
What would help me move the needle in a conversation between the iPhone of Android
Yeah.
being a Google product is any feature that can't be replicated on an iPhone. And if
Right
you
now
tell
is
me
circle
I
to
can,
search. That's literally the only thing.
and that's fun. I mean, it's a novelty.
Yeah.
People enjoy it, but it's not something that I've seen folks outside our techie sphere really using. Again, it's like I'm playing with some AI glasses. I have the Frame by Brilliant. I'm hoping to get a video out on these maybe next week. It's cool. I think they're really fun. I can't wait for them to add proper notification support so that I can have a heads-up display.
Oh yeah, I saw
They
that
look
one.
a little. They
I-
look a little funny. This
I-
isn't really the best frame style for my face, but I'll wear these if I can get smartwatch notifications at eye level.
We just need a red and
I-
white striped shirt on your
Right?
Yeah, that's
I
all
love
we
it.
need.
A big
Yeah.
stocking cap, and I'll walk around with a cane.
That's all I was thinking.
I am not the person who is walking around going, "Tell me what I'm looking at right now." Oh, that's so interesting.
Because that's what I'm looking
Like, because I'm looking at it, and if I don't know what it is, I'm not sitting there waiting for an AI to do some kind of camera scan to then try and figure out. And also, let me tell you, this thing gets it wrong a lot. So it's not Frame's fault because they're plugged into, I forget what they're using for their visual
ChatGPT
search.
or something.
I think it might be OpenAI for their visual search.
Okay.
But it's like, well, the camera in front of you is obviously a Sony. No, it's not. Oh, the phone you're holding is obviously an iPhone. Boy, howdy, it's a OnePlus. I'm not gonna like scan wildlife or vegetation. Is this poisonous? And then trust it because it gets everything wrong. But what I need Google to show me is they can bring anything else to the table. Circle to search is fun. It's a novelty, but a desktop mode is something I can show as a tangible difference that no iPhone can do, very few Androids can do, and now Google will be stepping up to the table to say, you are spending a lot of money on this phone. You can do more with it in more places, in more circumstances, and I can get behind that. I can get excited about that. It's nerdy. It's not really like average consumer, whatever we're going to say, but these aren't average consumer phone prices.
No, and I feel like Pixel devices have gone
to premium. They're
it's
just straight premium now.
They're very much, yeah. I mean, yeah. We'll have to see. You're right. It's a very interesting narrow road that I think Google needs to navigate. But the reality of just pushing AI in front of everything, it does not make the experience better. It is what you can do on device. And I think this is the year where they should be able to basically bring in these features on device and bring more better accessories to the ecosystem, other than just the buds. Don't get me wrong, the buds are going to be great. The watch is great. I want to say I want to see a bigger watch. I'll just be very frank. What we wanted last year was a bigger version of the Pixel Watch, so that it just looks more like a.
That's fair.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I had the Pixel the I mean, I gave my my niece the Pixel Watch 2 that I had from last year. It's just I can't wear it. It's just too small of a watch. Every time I wore it, it looks like I'm wearing my wife's watch, and it just looks weird. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it works great. It has all the cool features in it, but I also feel like a larger bezel, a larger display will, convey a larger battery, better battery life. That's the other thing. So there's a lot to cover. There's a lot of things, obviously, that we've heard, we've seen, rumors, and so on, and we'll have to end up just basically seeing what Google confirms. I'm hoping the glasses, the teaser that we saw at I/O, materializes into an actual piece of hardware.
I'm still mad that they like technically canceled, but then sort of didn't cancel Project Iris.
Yeah.
Because now if you're telling me that what people want, well, I'm playing with AI glasses right now. The thing I'm most excited for these is eventually getting more traditional heads-up display functionality. And that's what Iris was already bringing, was a much more streamlined, like, yeah, it's doing like speech translation. So if you're listening to one language, it's going to write out, a translation for you. Okay, cool. And actually the frame do that really, really well. That is a very practical, accessible, organic interaction for that kind of information, as opposed to holding a phone up in front of your face while someone's talking so you can see what they're saying as it transcribes it for you. Awesome. That's great. But if you're telling me that what I really needed in my glasses and in my earbuds was Gemini, I don't think that's moving the needle for consumers right now. And most of what I see in terms of like analysts doing studies on this stuff is the second you start hyping AI in a product, consumer confidence in that product plummets.
Well, yeah, I'm with them. I'm with them. It's that magical AI land that we
overhyped.
Yeah, no, I know.
Large language models,
and we want people to just basically buy
up.
based on, just the word AI, like as if, when you buy this phone, it's going to do so much stuff on its own, and it doesn't really. I mean, it's a prompt based system. It still is. But yeah. So, anyways, today is what, Thursday. So we have literally about 4 or 5 days left before the event, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about that next week on our show. Unfortunately, it's a day after your show for Monday morning's SGQA. So
I'm gonna have to repeat all of my old man. You know what? I'll just like totally skip all of that again and just be like, well, guys, let me tell you about the FTC. I'll spend like 45 minutes just complaining about FTC investigation.
No, I mean, dude, they give us enough stuff to talk about for a while. But I'm hoping the market kind of, a couple of things for next week. I'm hoping for good announcements. I'm hoping for better weather, and I'm also hoping for a market rebound, somewhat of a rebound, as opposed to that downfall roller coaster ride that has been taking people on. It's like, seriously, every day it's like, oh my god. But and
it's been too exciting.
It's been quite a bit. I was actually going to ask if any other content, any other videos that you're planning on putting out this week, or
I have so much stuff here. I still want to do a follow-up on the OnePlus Pad 2, but I don't have the keyboard, so I don't want to make a review when I can't kind of fully review that whole experience. But I do have a video finished on the Amazfit Balance, which we talked about last week. So that's in early access on the Patreon. I shot... Oh, I can't hold that up. That would have been embarrassing. I did shoot a video on that little dongle DAC that I was talking about.
You talked about that last week, yeah?
The Onyx. So I have a video that I need to edit on that. That's a collaboration with Shanling. Okay. And I'm just blown away, like, how good a roughly $100 DAC is becoming. Where even just a couple years ago, we were both playing with like Helm Bolt and THX Onyx and all of those things. And now at like half the price, they're getting even better. I do have a very critical video coming out on the Ace Magic collaboration with AOC for their little mini PC. This one was a really hard video to shoot, and I actually had to abbreviate a lot of stuff because it's like my ability to talk about this product is highly dependent on your ability to scrub out an SSD and reinstall your own operating system.
So we're talking same spiel again, yeah.
not a lot of trust on this brand right now, and I don't think they're making good choices to try and build that up. And then this is like, because I have such a backlog, the folks at Asus sent over their new ROG earbuds.
Nice.
So I'm going to be playing with those. They also sent over a travel router, which I haven't even taken out of the box yet. But it shares your phone data connection as a Wi-Fi 6 enabled device.
Router. Okay,
So
that
it's
is nice.
doing some of that, like, you know how like a OnePlus phone will talk to the OnePlus tablet, and it's technically not a hotspot, but it just kind of shares that data connection. Asus is saying, why not just run a whole router that way?
Why not?
So when you travel, an entire family of gadgets could piggyback
Off of
one data connection.
I'm with you.
And then lastly, I completely spaced that I even had this. I got it just before we took our vacation to the UK. I have the Bluetooth version of the Galileo from GameSir.
Okay.
The little Bluetooth snap-on controller, and I just really like this hardware. I just played with the ROG Tessin. I played with the GameSir Bluetooth two-piece controller. And now with Galileo, when you just like take a panel off and you can get to all of the guts of the controller and the buttons and swap and customize, it's pretty nice. It doesn't fit many of my camera-centric phones.
Unfortunately, anytime you have a hard shell,
nice.
heart straight back, it gets very challenging. But yeah, you're right.
So there's so much coming to the channel. So much I've got to catch up on. But it's really great. And then on top of all of that, I'm putting together some videos on using Windows. I want to do some more tips and tricks and tutorial videos. Like, there's a lot on my plate, but it's really good stuff. So, and the frames by Brilliant. So smart glasses that talk to the AI for you, and hopefully will be better than a smartwatch.
I hope so. For me, I have there's a couple of things that I'm working on that are still under embargo, unfortunately for me, till next week. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about that. They're a little bit different than what I've used to in the past. I mean, something similar to what I've covered in the past. But the more exciting thing for me, which I'm going to be dropping tomorrow morning, is I've covered tech in many different formats, and one thing I haven't covered before was in tech that goes into our like electronics and things like functional things that we use in the kitchen, smart home functionalities. And the folks over at Meraki they're starting a Kickstarter right now on an espresso machine, and it has a very interesting. I'm not going to say AI.
AI espresso.
It is not AI. It is very much. They're calling it Coffee Sense, but in essence, what it is a way to simplify the ominous task that it is an espresso machine when you first buy one, or if you're thinking about buying one, to make it almost automated, not AI. Okay. It comes down basically the biggest thing that they have is that if you get the beans directly from them, it has the ability of configuring the machine to tell you what grind level the beans need to be grinded to, and what the temperature that the bean need to be actually when you're doing the coffee pull on it. And it's somewhat of a compact piece of hardware that you're able to put in your kitchen, but it includes everything that you need, from the steamer, the grinder, to the brewer, and even has built-in scales. Like it has a lot of nice little tricks, all interconnected to a system that gets connection to the internet, updated over the internet. There's a whole bunch of functional things. I really geeked out on a coffee maker. I love coffee. This is just taking it to the next level for me. So that my video will be out tomorrow. First time ever reviewing a coffee maker in there, and a few more accessories for my Tesla that I've been kind of struggling. Kind of, again, you take a week or so off, you go on vacation, you come back, and it's like, oh my God. And so between that, and as the reason why I even put that in the title, I still need to put out the video on the Mix Flip from Xiaomi. They sent that over. I'm really enjoying just the form factor and the display functionalities that we have in here, but also the camera tech, and also how easy it is to install Google Play services on this thing and just make it run and download everything. Again, short of having nearby share, but other than that, that's kind of like what's going on for me. And of course, we have our show next Thursday. We'll be back with you guys, of course, on Thursday night with the best of our week. And of course, make sure you catch Juan on Monday with the SGGQA. And with that being said, I want to say thank you very much for hanging out with us. We're back in the swing of things. We're back on our schedule. I know we we had a few bumps in the
We're
road. Yeah,
back in the New York groove.
exactly,
We're
my
back.
friend. And we're keeping it hot, just over 100 degrees every day.
It's summer.
Just the way we keep it.
It's summer. It's hot.
It is. It is.
Now I need to go and rewatch. Okay, so that's an old joke from my movie review show. There's a movie called A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints.
Oh, okay.
An incredible ensemble coming of age story in New York, and the trailer has "Back in the New York Groove." We're back in the New York groove. But there's a whole line in the middle where it's like, oh man, it's summer. Well, it's hot. It's summer. It's hot. What do you expect? And it's like this like kind of running gag of hot New York summer.
Somebody needs to
great.
call New York and let them know about that, because they're getting a lot of rain right now. So yeah, the East Coast is getting pounded by Deb. Is it Debbie or Deborah?
I would love to trade them. That would be fine.
I would trade.
They can take 10 of our degrees, and we'll take some of their water.
I was going to say we'll take some of the water. We do not want the floodgates that are going in there. But no, seriously. On a serious note, if you are on the East Coast and you're working through some of that, please be safe. Stay safe. I mean, I know our buddy. We have some friends also in Florida as well. Hope you guys are doing well. But with that being said, thank you very much. Be safe, stay safe, and we'll see you guys again for another episode. If I can find my mouse, this is like first word problem here. We'll see you guys next week for another episode, the best of our week, with a lot of Google conversations to be had.